يا حبيبي يا حسين يا طبيبي يا حسين يا حبيبي يا حسين يا طبيبي يا حسين السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. One of the narrations dictate, dear brothers and sisters, the mu'min that is strong, the mu'min that is resilient is more favorable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than a mu'min who's weak. Al-mu'min al-qawi khayrun wa ahabbu ila Allah ta'ala min al-mu'min al-dha'if. Inshallah, the topic that this lecture would revolve around would be, is resilience the solution? Now, when you ask this question, this directly implies that there's a problem in which resilience is crucial and important, right? Now, first of all, what is resilience? Resilience, dear brothers and sisters, is defined as the capacity to withstand. All of us here know someone who faces a lot of hardship, whether at home, whether involving communication between parents, between our parents and us, our friends at school, at university, with friends at the mosque, at work. There's a lot of challenges in life. There's a lot of things that put us in a state where we feel pressured. So the question is, what is the solution to this? I've seen people day in and day out that face a lot of problems at home. They say, we find that there's a big gap between our understanding and that of our parents. They say we see a big gap in terms of what we see today, the world is developing, and between the reality of our mosques, our homes, etc. Right? So they're pressured to be affected by one side. What is the solution? The solution is none other than resilience. Now, again, the definition of resilience is the capacity to withstand. Now, here's a question. Why is resilience important? Before we delve deep into the specifics, why is it important? Dear brothers and sisters, those that have seen or those that haven't seen, we as Muslims, specifically as Shias, those that want to grasp onto the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, day in and day out, we face challenges. From the inside before the outside. We face challenges. Things don't flow well every single day. There are problems that we encounter with our friends, with our families. Right? So should someone have resilience and practice that and embody that and have that manifest in their day-to-day action, that would significantly affect how they conduct themselves. Now some might ask, okay, well, now we understand the importance of resilience and what it means, but how do we establish resilience? How do I become a person that is resilient, not affected by my surroundings? Whether like peer pressure or whether things that we see on social media. How do we become individuals that are not pressured by that? I personally met with individuals that are significantly affected by social media. Not in a good way, in a very bad way. Where their thoughts and their ideas and their knowledge is all from social media. And with all honesty, that can be for the good. Social media, the internet, technology, AI, all that are platforms wherein we can utilize in our favor, in the favor of the madhab, right? But a lot of our youth misuse it because it's a tool. You can use it in a good way, you can use it in a detrimental way, right? There's a theory which I mentioned today in Salat al-Jum'ah. It's called the absorbment theory, which was established by one of the scientists. This scientist says basically every single human being is like a sponge, right? Wherever you submerge that sponge, it would attract that, whether with water, with soap, juice. It would contain and absorb what you submerged that thing in. Picture it like a cup. We are like cups. Whatever you pour into that cup, you would get from that cup. Right? That's why it's extremely important that whatever we see, whatever we hear, whatever we do, should be things not affected and not learned from a negative platform. Rather, something which we attain, something which we gain, something we strive to attain appropriately. And that's why resilience is what helps filter that. So this capacity to withstand gives you a filtration process wherein whatever you scroll and see on social media, whether on Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat, etc., whatever you see, positively or negatively, you have an indicator that says, hey, this post you like, this post you don't, this post is appropriate, this post is not. This post will not affect me, this post will. Right? Resilience. Now here's the question. How do we gain that resilience? Because that's the hardest part. That's like the navigator. So resilience, here's the core idea. How do we gain that? Through one means. Through establishing immunity. Now you'll ask me, okay, well, now we know that for us to have resilience, we need immunity. How do we get immunity? Two things. Number one, the atmosphere and the environment you are in. Without a doubt, I say it hand on heart, any environment you live in or you put yourself in would affect you whether you like it or not. A person that is born here in the West, in the US, in Canada, in Europe, is different than the child who's brought up in the Middle East. Their thoughts, ideas, practices, culture, belief system, everything from A to Z, it's totally different. So the environment of the atmosphere significantly affects that. And that's why the friends we hang out with, the apps we download and we view, the things we hear, right? The places we go, we should choose them and we should scrutinize before we act. I know one individual who lived in Michigan. He's like a friend of mine. He was a friend of mine. He lived in Michigan. I live in Canada. And I used to live in a city called Windsor, which is like a border city to Michigan, to Detroit and Dearborn. And we used to, every 2 weeks, every month, I used to pass like the border and see him. This person, unfortunately, was significantly different than me. And I tried to affect him and influence him. And I was able to, but not 100%, because I used to see him once every 2 weeks. But this person was obsessed with friends. And the moment I saw his friends and the environment he was in, I told him, this is extremely toxic. This is not for me, and it shouldn't be there for you as well. Right? And yes, we should have our time. We should have fun. No one says no. You should go out, hang out with friends. Right? No problem. But in a manner appropriate and in a manner that would positively affect you, not negatively. He didn't listen. He spent so much money on restaurants and food with his friends. Thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. Maybe every single day, 2 to 4 hours, hanging out with friends. Unfortunately, this person, at the age of 19, 20, he passed away. He had diabetes, type 2, and his blood sugar spiked while he was back in Iraq. So they brought him back here to the US and all that. Not one of his friends showed up. Not one of his friends showed up to offer condolences, to console the family, to be there as friends, as individuals, where he spent money on, spent time, which is more valuable than money. They didn't show up. And they didn't even feel sorry or express pain and sorrow, right? And that made me really sad. And that was like a lesson to me personally, that the environment you choose, you should really work on choosing that environment appropriately. Otherwise, things can go the bad way. That's number one. So the environment and the atmosphere. Again, the example of the cup is a very important example. Anything you pour in, you would drink from eventually. Same thing. Everything you see, hear, learn, be in the presence of that thing, you would be influenced by it. That would make up part of your thoughts and belief systems and all that. That's number one. Number two is the knowledge. Knowledge, brothers and sisters, is an extremely important tool because it acts like a navigation system. If you want to go from place A to place B, not knowing the path, what do? We have like a navigation system, right? We put the address. Knowledge acts like that. Knowledge rectifies your path and says, hey, instead of going this way, go this way. That's your path. One thing we struggle significantly nowadays with is people don't seek knowledge. And when I say knowledge, I mean acquired knowledge through the appropriate means, not social media. Yes, some knowledge can be taken from social media, but the actual knowledge is not taken from social media. It's taken from books. It's taken from a profound and a strong education system, right? Education and knowledge is the second way to gain immunity. So thus, for you to be resilient, you have to strengthen that immunity. For you to have immunity, you need to work on two things. Number one, the environment, and number two, the knowledge. Now some might ask, okay, we're in the second night of Muharram. How does this relate to any of what took place in Muharram? Muharram, we see the epitome of resilience and the manifestation of resilience during the month of Muharram. How so? I'll give a few examples that show that. Example number one, the leadership and guidance displayed in Muharram. All of us heard the story of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam having to go from Medina to Mecca, right, with his family, with his kids, infants, in the deserts, on camels and horses. It's really hard. It's a very long trip, right, from one place to another. When the Imam was on the battlefield of Karbala and the enemies are in front of him, he got on his horse, which was named Lahiq. That's the name of the horse of the Imam. And he headed toward the camp of the army of 30,000 individuals, man. One of the companions of the Imam told him, Ya Abu Abdullah, what are you doing? He said, I have to go ahead and give them an advice and advise them. They have a right upon me. What is that right? Imam al-Hussein said, their right upon me is for me to show them the right path. Don't ever think, dear brothers and sisters, that Imam al-Hussein took the sword right away. No. Imam al-Hussein several times spoke with them, convinced a lot of people. And a lot of people like Al-Hur, for example, shifted from the army of Yazid to where? To Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So that's the first thing. Imagine you standing there, an enemy of 30,000 individuals that came purposely to kill you. And you say, well, no, there's a right upon me for me to teach them and educate them. What kind of resilience is that? Not being affected by that pain. Imam al-Hussein could have said, well, no, that's my right, and I will never, I would stand up and die, and that's it. I would not speak a word. They either give me my position, the position of Khilafah, or no. No, he didn't say that. He said, and then these people are humans, right? That's the first example of resilience. The second example is steadfastness in principle. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was in his camp and he heard a voice. That voice said, "Oh Hussein, how fast do you want to enter hellfire?" Imam al-Hussein turned around and said, "Who's this?" He knows who's this, but he said this on purpose. They told him, "This is Shamr." He told him, "Anta awla biha minni saliya." If there's a person that deserves it severely, profoundly, it's you, O Shamr. You're the one that deserves the hellfire, not me. Muslim ibn Awsaj, one of the companions of the Imam and the martyrs of Karbala, told Imam, "Let us respond with a bow. We can target Shamr." And Shamr, as we all know, he's the one that slaughtered the Imam himself. So if Imam al-Hussein would have killed him, that's one less headache, we can say, right? Imam al-Hussein said, "No, I would never start them with a war." Steadfastness in principle. Imam has principles, red lines. He would never ever exceed them. Why? What does this indicate? This is resilience. Maybe if this was me, I would take my sword, my soldiers, and say, attack him, kill him, right? Imam said no. That's the resilience. That's number 2. Number 3, which tends to be the most painful for me, and that's endurance through hardship. Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam reports that Imam al-Hussein was stabbed by a dagger in his flank, so between the hip and the ribs, right here in this area. He was stabbed by a dagger. When he was stabbed, he had still like the ability to respond, right? But he didn't. Why? The Imam said the reason why he didn't respond is he knew one of the grandchildren of this person that stabbed him is a Shi'i Muwali. So he said by killing this individual, that person wouldn't exist. And Allah wills that this person, one of his offspring, shall exist, right? So I won't kill him. He endured the pain. This is resilience. If this indicates anything, and this teaches us anything, it teaches us that we as Shia of Ahlul Bayt must embody that today based on our environment. Alhamdulillah, we're living in a state, in a country where we have the freedom of speech, somewhat, right? Somewhat freedom of speech, right? Where we can express and speak and talk freely, right? But we still have challenges. And every single one of us, when I say challenges, everyone is thinking of something right now. You must work with that using resilience. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you that resilience. And strive to have that resilience. Because asking Allah by itself wouldn't make a difference. The verse says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah Ta'ala would never change people unless they change themselves. Help yourself first, Allah Ta'ala would help you. Dear brothers and sisters, during these days, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was forced to leave Medina. He was forced to leave the city of his grandfather, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. خرج الحسين من المدينة خائفا يترقب. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, just like Musa and his people, had to leave the city of Medina. Before that, he headed to the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. What did he tell him? He told him, جداه ضمني عندك يا جداه ضمني عندك يا جداه في هذا الضريح علني يا جيد من بلوى زماني استريح. Oh grandfather, oh Rasulullah, this entire world has become too small for me. Open this grave, let me join you, oh Rasulullah. he heard a response coming from that grave. What did it say? فعلى من داخل القبر بكاء ونحيب وعلى من داخل القبر بكاء ونحيب ونداء بافتجاع يا حبيبي يا حسين. Oh, Abu Abdullah, this is not your day. You have a day there preserved for you on the land of Karbala. On that day, you will be left without any clothing. Your body would be trampled. Your fingers would be cut. Your body would be crushed. Abu Abdullah. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. O Allah, we ask you by our beloved Prophet, by the Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, the commander of the faithful, by our Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, by the master of all martyrs, by his 9 sons, his descendants and the righteous Imam, and to salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, to send your blessings upon the Ahlul Bayt. O Allah, grant us the intercession of Imam al-Hussein in the hereafter and his blessings, and allow us to serve Imam al-Hussein in this world. Allow us to act in accordance to his teachings. Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Wa ila arwah al-mu'minina wal-mu'minat. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.